That afternoon, July 4th, 1919, I don't think that there was a fighter, including Muhammad Ali, that probably could have stood up to Dempsey on that afternoon.
Big Jess moves easily into action.
Arena was very interesting. It was huge. It was the largest stadium in the world at the time. It was 600 feet diameter, sat as many as 100,000 people.
You can see what a difference there is in their size.
A notable person like Mike Tyson based his whole career and his likeliness off of Jack Dempsey.
Willard, because of the fact that Willard was in shape, he actually was in pretty good shape.
People just thought that his size would be too much for Dempsey. And of course, you know, they'd seen him beat Jack Johnson. He was the great white hope, and so he was a big deal for the country at that time.
His punching power, once he got a hold of you with that left hook, they weren't the same after that. The most brutal boxing event in history.
Ribs broken, half a dozen teeth knocked out.
Was Jack Dempsey Jess Willard, championship fight, July 4th, 1919.
An idol has been born, Dempsey the Mauler.
It was known as the fight of the century, Jess Willard versus Jack Dempsey, and now we revisit a fight that took place right here in 1919.
This is a great panoramic shot. The library lent that to us. One of my favorite things about it is there's not very many shots that show the whole crowd. Now, this isn't the whole crowd either. There was quite a bit more that would have been behind us. But there's some controversy around how many people were there. So the stadium sat between 80 and 100,000.
Okay.
And the historical records, all the newspapers from the day, all say 20,000 people were there. Pete Schmidt. I am secretary of the Toledo History Museum and also head of the exhibits committee. They call it the golden age of boxing, and I think Dempsey was a really big part of that. Got his start boxing by picking up fights in bars in towns. He would say, I can't sing, I can't dance, but I can lick anybody in this place.
Body just does his best to keep going. Why? It's no use, he hasn't a chance, but there's a tradition of all champions behind him. He has to fight even when he has nothing left to fight with.
Why Toledo's Day in the Sun?
So that was actually a title from an article that Willis Stork, as I believe his name, did in the 70s.
But even that was a double entendre to the temperature that day. It was the air temperature was 97 degrees, but they believe that, you know, with no shade in the middle of the day, right down in the ring, it was probably closer to 110 degrees.
The 70,000 spectators packed around the ring in the blistering sunshine.
They've got the ballet and a choreographer that does movie fighting, hired to train some actors to reenact blow by blow, knockdown by knockdown the fight. And they're rebuilding a section of it. This is 1/120th scale, so you can get an idea. It's end scale. It was 600 feet across to begin with. This will be, when completed, this is only half of it now, 43 inches across.
100 years later, the great-grandsons of those carpenters, still members of Carpenters Local 351, are building the replica. You'll see it in the parking lot at Detweiler Park when we reenact this on July 4th. We're going to have people in period costumes, wearing, men wearing their hats, women with the long dresses.
The cross sector is perfect because the arts, once upon a time, had a decline also, and funders pulled together, private funders pulled together and made it happen. So I feel like this is an opportunity to get all those people in the same room, celebrating history, celebrating grassroots efforts and everything.
We had an Olympian named Louis Self, right? And some other guys that was come out of Soul City, the original Soul City. And to my knowledge, our first world champion was Lindell Holmes. As a matter of fact, he's my cousin.
Toledo boxing itself has just been a platform for success in Toledo, and the discipline that it teaches it. Everything from giving people opportunity who I know for a fact wouldn't have. I've almost raised some of these kids, and I'm like, boxing was perfect for you. I'm glad you found it.
I'm one who believes that history is important, and I want Toledoans to know that something this big happened and why it happened and how, if not the exact same thing, how great things can still happen in our city by taking advantage of some of those assets that we still have today.
There you go.
It's important because not only do we focus on boxing, wrestling, sports, we focus on academics, and we keep kids from, falling through the cracks, selling drugs, gang banging. And we also are fighting childhood obesity. So it's a number of things that we do here to help the inner city.
To me, boxing paved the way for a lot of these kids and grown-ups also to have some structure, to make it, to be successful, if not millionaires, just to being able to make it in life.